G'day all, Adam Wuiske from Wuiske Models here again for part 4 of the layout that Insanity built. In this one we're going to look at where we're up to and show you around the thing a bit so that you get a bit of an idea of the lay of the land. So let's have a look. So for this one I thought we'll just take you around, we'll just show you what we've actually been doing and give you a bit of a closer look at the way things are sort of panning out, and hopefully a bit of the method to the madness will start to sort of make a bit of sense to everyone. So as it stands right now, we've got a reasonable bit of the framing in, but we've got about 35% of the ceiling in. Now the beautiful part is that once the ceiling is in, I can start putting the terrain in. I've already started mocking up for bridges and things like that where they're going, and yeah, I'm getting a little bit excited, and so there's more track to be laid. Effectively though, so far as bench work, I'll put up a little map that shows you. We've got about 60% of the bench work in at the moment, and we've officially run out of timber. So that's interesting, so we're going to need to buy another ton of it. So that'll mean 3 ton of studding, and I'm not sure how much of yellow tongue in the shelving, but it's a lot. So as you can see behind me, much work has been done, as I've said, and from right behind me you can see there's more black and blue here than the last time Bridget asked for an honest opinion about her cooking. That being said, we now have a good, well, the start of the backdrops being painted. Now this is actually the second version of blue we went with. The first one genuinely looked like a massacre at the Smurf Village. It was bad. Beautiful colour, but really diabolically awful for sky blue. So we mixed it down and with some white and everything else and redid it. Well, having said that, Bridget redid it. I just basically said, yes dear. And then if you look further above my disturbingly ugly head, you'll see that there's a ceiling there, or the start of a ceiling. We've got about probably 30% of it in. So we had the core flute sheeting, the 200 sheets arrived last week, and the boys have been studiously going in and putting them up. I actually started with Aidan putting them up, and I, rather handily, managed to injure my elbow quite badly. So that sort of put an end to me sort of holding sheets up and doing my YMCA impersonation. Now, I've touched on the core flute ceiling idea, which it is just an idea that we had a few times, and effectively I can now tell you the results, because it was all just a guess and a theory, like most things in this layout. Now, what we found is, as I said, it's 2mm thick core flute. It is thin. Now, I've got to tell you, this stuff is garbage. It is awful. It is diabolically crap. But it's great for the ceiling, because what we're going for is a ceiling that you don't notice. So these sheets are overlapped. They're just put straight in with tech screws and into the top hat bearers, and it works. So really awful to put in because the material is kind of, think like really wet paper mache, but with half the structural integrity. But it works. Once it's in, you take one step back, you don't see any joins, you don't see anything. It is beautiful, but it is awful to put in. So for those that remember, in the last video I showed this section missing a bit. Well, it's now complete. So here we see the one section that was really worrying me about getting right, which is where we have 4 levels of track in one section. So the very bottom level underneath is what's going to be our version of the Wamuran branch. The one in the middle is the North Coastline continuing past our version of Gympie, and the one at the top is the Western branch, so which is just on 100 feet long. And then up here they both, one comes downgrade, one comes upgrade, and they meet right here. And then the 4th section is just over here, which still needs to be blocked up because it starts going up a gradient, which is the main line. So it goes from here, it travels about 140 feet, I think, to end up coming back into this section here. Assembling the next section of the turnaround peninsula, which is the one directly above his head there. So this is another 16 feet, and there's one there up against the last of the suburban peninsulas. So one will become the shelf and one will become the layout. He did that like a pro, didn't he? So here we see I've got the first road going into the hidden section that's running between Turbot Street Station and what we're classing as Caboolture, which will be the hidden section linking the two ends of the suburban network. And there's a pair of dodgy teal-looking glasses that I may or may not have stolen off my darling wife. Excuse me, because I'm far more blind than I care to admit. If we go down here, you can see a bit of blue, and my darling wife is in there somewhere with a roller way down the end. And we see the lab mat is squaring up the legs for the next bit. So this peninsula here, which is sort of free floating at the moment, is currently just a shade under 40 feet in length. We shall see how we go. So this section here that I was just talking about before is effectively once you head out of Gympie now, which is about 200 kilometres north of Brisbane. Now the road here on the left, you'll see that it gets a bit wider, and that goes around the curve until that next join and where it gets on to the next bit of peninsula. Now the reason for that is because this spot here is going to be based loosely on a place called Banks Pocket, which is a cattle sales yards just north of Gympie. It's literally about a mile and a half, if that, out of Gympie. And in real life, it's on the north coastline. On our version, it'll be on the start of the western branch. But it's a good spot for, as I said, cattle sales. So it'll run them down to the meatworks. But as well as that, it's a spot where they spell cattle. So after a certain period of time in Queensland, the law says that they have to spell the cattle for, I think it's 10 hours, and then they can reload them on the train and off they go again. So that just adds another interesting element of operations. So this peninsula is now complete. This is the second peninsula, which is sitting at around about 70, 75 feet long, thereabouts. So running down here, you'll have a few industries, two large industries in particular. Right at the very back, you'll have the cannery, and then about halfway up, roughly in line with where that ladder is, we'll have the meatworks, the abattoirs. So, you know, moo-moos going in, frozen moo-moos coming out. And then where the backdrop dips in there, just getting closer, is where the Australian paper mill will be. So that'll have pulp timber, and it'll have wood chips going into it, and then cardboard and paper products coming out to go to the newspaper house for newsprint, and to one of the packaging plants we've got. And then from there it gets delivered to other industries. As you come around this curve here, there'll be a station, double track main, and this is going to be loosely based on Dacabin, which is it's a good transitional point between suburbia and heavy to light industrial south of it, and then from there it sort of starts heading into a more rural sort of area on the northern side of Brisbane, heading towards Caboolture. So along this bit here where it's tapering back in, we'll have our version of the South Pine Bridge, which is a bridge that we're hoping will be about 6 feet long. And as you come in, you'll actually be looking straight down it. And then as you progress down here, it's dead straight run with one station in the middle, and then leading to Caboolture, which has a small yard on the end of it, and it's effectively a floodplain. So this will be one very large, long, open scene. So you'll have to excuse the darkness in this corner. Now that we've got the ceiling up and the black, it is genuinely like staring into the void. But this here, you've seen the two roads coming out of in the hidden section from Turbot Street through to Caboolture. Well, this is the other end of it. So this here is the end of Roma Street, or Turbot Street as we're calling it, station. There's a roadway here that goes underneath 4 bridges. Well, sorry, it'll be 6 bridges to access the rail yard for trucks. You've got 2 roads that disappear into a tunnel, and then they come out at Caboolture, and that gives us the continuous run for the suburban trains, so they can just do their thing. These 2 roads here come around. In the back here, we're going to have the 4X brewery, and then we head in, and the station running up here with 3 platforms will be based on Milton. We'll be calling it Patterson. And then as you come here, it gets narrow because there'll be a road going under this. So as a station, in one platform, it's both above ground and below ground level in one platform, which that is how the prototype is. It's very weird terrain in this area. So just to explain why we're doing the 4X Brewery, first of all, we're Queenslanders, and 4X Brewery is it's a bit iconic. And well, as they always say, the reason why Queenslanders have a beer called 4X is because we can't spell beer. Now, the interesting part about the 4X Brewery is that in our version of reality, it's going to be rail served, which apparently it was many moons ago. However, it does generate a lot of traffic. So one of our customers was actually a shunter at Roma Street, or as we're calling it, Turbot Street Yard, back in the 70s. And he was telling me that every couple of days they'd have a full train load of just beer heading up the north coast. So on this layout, you'll be having a small shunt that'll be running most of the day from the 4X Brewery through to Turbot Street Yard and then through to Normanby Yard next to that, which we're calling Victoria Park. And from there, it'll be marshalled into trains going to 7 different rural locations. So it will generate a hell of a lot of traffic and keep everyone busy. So we've now moved 80 feet further down from the branch from Patterson. So here we see just your standard Walthers wet and dry grain bins. I've got 3 here at the moment. We're going to have 7. And this will be the malt silos, which we can blame Maddie for that, because I was looking at the photos of Pinkenbar. Which is what this is loosely based on, and I thought it was the grain silos, and he said, no, that's just for the malt. These are the grain ones. So this is just on 4 feet long, and then on top of that there's a wheat shed to go beyond that, which is about another 4 feet. And then as we come around, we've got the first of 2 refineries here, which will be Caltex. And then we come around, we've got the old cold stores. And then beyond that, we've got the BP refinery, and then we've also got Boral bitumen. And as you can see, there's a lot of junk sitting on it because, well, as we all know, when you're building layouts, they make damn good shelves. So now with this area just behind me in the corner with the grain silos and everything else, that's kind of a combination of the Pinkenbar area with the grain silos and with the Hamilton area with the refineries. Now, in real life in Brisbane, in the era we're modelling, there was actually 3 oil refineries all literally next door to each other with the cold stores smacked in the middle. So what we've actually got is on this one area, which is 16 feet long and about the same in width as an L shape, is we've actually got 2 oil refineries, a bitumen plant, 2 container yards, a cold stores, a cement works, and the grain. 2 lots of grain. So a little bit. Now that's all in one corner, and aside, the only things that weren't actually there in real life was the cement works and the grain, because they were further out. Now, in our reality, we're putting them in, but the actual real version of Hamilton had more industries than that tucked in there. It was very complex and very condensed, and it actually had its own shunters that used to stay there pretty much all day just shuffling wagons around. So hopefully you enjoyed that little trip around the layout that Insanity built, and you can see where we're actually up to. So yeah, I'm really happy with it, and I'm actually getting really close to the point where I can really go in and start laying track and doing terrain on my dream layout that I've been toying with since I was 10-year-old. So, you know, if you liked it, please feel free to subscribe and like it and all that other garbage. And if you've got any comments or anything like that, please feel free to let us know. If you've got any suggestions for the names of the stations in the areas, please let me know, because I'm not real imaginative with this stuff, and most of these names have actually come from Maddie and a few other people. So, yeah. But we do have 33 stations that we need names for, and we've only got about half a dozen of them covered. So we also have 50 industries that some of them need some names. So I can't tell you some of the names because they're a bit politically incorrect. Some of them are bordering on war crimes, but that's another story. So, you know, this is the advice we get. So anyway, as I said, please feel free to like and subscribe if you think we've earned it. And we'll see you next time. So we shall see how we go.